President Donald J. Trump is set to be named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Of course, he's going to be Person of the Year. I mean, Time Magazine, they're clout jacking just like everyone else is. Who else were they going to choose? I mean, we saw the short list, but no one compares. No one has done the accomplishments. No one has done as much as President Trump has over the past year. 2024 was clearly President Trump's year to shine amid assassination attempts, not one, but two, amid a brutal battle in the primaries where he went head to head with some of his strongest allies. And of course, a presidential election, which was unprecedented for several reasons. First of all, he had to battle not one, but two Democrat candidates. President Donald Trump in 2024 first debated and defeated Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. and then debated and defeated Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, to win an electoral majority, a popular vote landslide, and a mandate from the American people to make America great again. There's no one else in the world who clearly deserves the title of Time's Person of the Year. Also, have you noticed that the end of the year when they pick who the Person of the Year is just about the only time anyone ever talks about Time Magazine? President Donald Trump on his Truth Social wrote about it and actually pinned retruth. You know what I mean? He shared a report from Reuters. Time Magazine to name Trump Person of the Year. Donald Trump will ring in the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange on Thursday, the same day he is expected to be named Time Magazine's Person of the Year, according to two people familiar with the selection and plans. A spokesperson for Time declined to comment on the selection. That means it's true. The Republican president-elect built his fortune as a New York real estate investor before turning to politics. During his first term as president, he measured his success in part by the strength of the stock market, which has so far welcomed his reelection. The ringing of the bell signifies the start or the closing of the trading day at the world's largest stock exchange and is considered an honor. The act has historically been reserved for company executives celebrating an initial public offering or other major corporate milestones. But celebrities and politicians like Ronald Reagan, Nelson Mandela, and Arnold Schwarzenegger have also rung it. Politico first reported the news of Trump's selection and plans. Time bestowed the Person of the Year title to Trump once before in 2016. It named Democratic President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris Person of the Year in 2020 after they defeated Trump. Pop star Taylor Swift received the title last year. I guess you could say President Trump defeated her as well, seeing as how her endorsement didn't really seem to have the same ring to it that it has with past politicians and past political cycles. President Trump is going to be in New York today. In fact, he's already there. I believe he spent the evening at Trump Tower so that he could be at the stock exchange bright and early today, ready to ring the bell. Now, the security in New York City, as you can imagine, is super tight. Security has been beefed up, by the way, for President Trump's arrival in New York. And you can see as they maneuver around the streets, there is very tight security. Trump Tower to the New York Stock Exchange and back. President Trump is in good hands, it appears, with the Secret Service as he goes to ring the bell on the day that he is becoming Time Magazine's Person of the Year. There's some other big news, of course, and President Trump was busy. Yesterday, Christopher Wray announced he's resigning as director of the FBI. This is no shock because President Trump had already announced his replacement in Kaye Patel. But not to let the occasion go unmarked, President Trump took to Truth Social to write a farewell note, I guess, to Christopher Wray, or to reemphasize the importance for new leadership at the FBI and to reestablish Kaye Patel as the right choice. He wrote, "The resignation of Christopher Wray is a great day for America, as it will end the weaponization of what has become known as the United States Department of Injustice. I just don't know what happened to him. We will now restore the rule of law for all Americans. Under the leadership of Christopher Wray, the FBI illegally raided my home without cause, worked diligently on illegally impeaching and indicting me, and has done everything else to interfere with the success and future of America. They have used their vast powers to threaten and destroy many innocent Americans, some of which will never be able to recover from what has been done to them. Kaye Patel is the most qualified nominee to lead the FBI in the agency's history and is committed to helping ensure that law, order, and justice will be brought back to our country again and soon. As everyone knows, I have great respect for the rank and file of the FBI, and they have great respect for me. They want to see these changes every bit as much as I do, but more importantly, The American people are demanding a strong but fair system of justice. We want our FBI back, and that will now happen. I look forward to Kash Patel's confirmation so that the process of making the FBI great again can begin. Thank you. Now, I've never had an employee that quit, but if I do ever have an employee that quit, I'm going to write a letter just like this. I'm going to write a letter saying, good riddance, thank God they're gone. The new guy is going to be way better. And that is true. And of course, that reiterates Kash Patel's solidification atop the FBI now that there is an opening. You know, before President Trump would have to fire Christopher Wray announcing, I don't want to be fired. I don't want to be fired by Donald Trump. I don't want to be fired by anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and move out of the way. I'm going to pack my stuff and I'm going to get out of here. And then Kash Patel can come in after Senate confirmation. And his meetings on the Hill, by the way, Kash Patel's Senate meetings on the Hill have been going great. He's been meeting with senators all week, much like Pete Hegseth, much like Tulsi Gabbard. He's been making the rounds, and they're all loving him. No one has come out with any negative statements or wishy-washiness about confirming Kash Patel to be the FBI director. And what President Donald Trump said about the FBI rank and file is 100% correct. You know, when we say, oh, the FBI is corrupt, oh, the FBI is horrible, FBI is weaponizing themselves against people, it's true, but it's not the rank and file. It's not the agents on the street. I know a couple of them. They're good people. They want to just do their job. They want to protect Americans. They're into law enforcement, but the upper echelons of the organization are the ones that are rotten to the core. And Kash Patel is going to come in, root them out. And as President Trump rightly pointed out, there are a lot of agents on the ground all over the country who are also excited for the change. Because when the FBI stinks, everybody suffers. When the organization gets a bad rap, everybody associated with them gets a bad rap. And now that there's new leadership coming in, old leadership going out, President Trump has made it a priority to root out the deep state and create an FBI, a Federal Bureau of Investigation, that doesn't investigate innocent Americans, but instead investigates criminals, locks them up, punishes them, and keeps Americans safe instead of making Americans worry or worrisome about the FBI. That's exactly what we want. That's exactly what we need. That's exactly what we're going to get. And there was another interesting announcement. Kaye Lake was appointed the director of the Voice of America. I'm pleased to announce that Kaye Lake will serve as our next director of the Voice of America, President Trump wrote. She will be appointed by and work closely with our next head of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, who I will announce soon, to ensure that the American values of freedom and liberty are broadcast around the world fairly and accurately, unlike the lies spread by the fake news media. Kaye was a beloved news anchor in Arizona, which supported me by record margins for over 20 years. Kaye Lake ran for governor unsuccessfully and then for Senate unsuccessfully, and now she finds herself in charge of Voice of America as the director. This is President Donald Trump again working to reestablish and root out any kind of bias or propaganda in any one of his agencies throughout the government. And with the Voice of America, under the leadership of Kaye Lake, you're going to have one of the strongest pro-Trump, strongest pro-America, strongest anti-Democrat socialist establishment media voices in charge. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. It's going to be very interesting. As we scroll through Trump's Truth Social, which is where, and again, when we talk about, getting the news every single day, the best part about President Donald Trump owning his own social media network is that there's never any question about what's on his mind. There's never any question about what's important to him. There's never any question about what he's thinking about or what's top of mind, because he puts it all out there for everybody to read. And one of the things he mentioned was about Richard Grenell. So there was an article about him in Reuters. Richard Grenell is a fabulous person, a star. He will be someplace high up, is all he wrote. And then he retweeted this Reuters.com article again about Richard Grenell, ex-intelligence chief who worked with the NSA for a while and has been rumored to be in multiple different facets of Donald Trump's next administration, but has yet to land a job. And Donald Trump, I believe, just here reiterating that there's still plenty of jobs to be had. There's important positions to be filled, and Richard Grenell will fill one of them. The rumor mill, of course, and again, Donald Trump reposted this article, so there may be some truth to it, is that President-elect Donald Trump is now considering tapping Richard Grenell, his former intelligence chief, to be a special envoy for Iran, according to two people familiar with the transition plans. He's definitely in the running, said a person familiar with deliberations who asked not to be identified. No final decisions on either personnel or strategy on Iran have been made official yet by Trump, including whether to slap fresh sanctions on the country, pursue diplomacy, or both in order to halt their nuclear program. But it's not just their nuclear program. It's attacks from Hamas and Iran supporting Hamas and Hezbollah. It's these new drones which are flying all over New Jersey, which have been reported now by a member of Congress in New Jersey that they are Iranian drones, large drones flying all over, very similar to the Chinese balloons that were flying all over just last year. So we've got all kinds of incidences with Iran, all kind of acting up by Iran. And it's going to be interesting to see how Rick Grinnell, if he is put in place as a special envoy to Iran, deals with these situations and puts Iran in its place, whether or not they open up negotiations or whether or not they take a tougher stance. Mark Zuckerberg was in the news. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Mark Zuckerberg, after meeting with President Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago and issuing a statement, saying that, yes, he's interested in being part of whatever technological team Donald Trump puts together. If there's talks about tech and the future of technology in the Trump administration, Mark Zuckerberg eager to be part of it, now putting his money where his mouth is. Not a lot of his money, a little bit of his money, not a lot, but a little bit. Mark Zuckerberg, according to the Wall Street Journal, has donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. President-elect had blasted tech tycoon during presidential campaign, but ties have been improving. You may remember that when President Donald Trump was shot in the face in Butler, Pennsylvania, Mark Zuckerberg called it badass. He said, man, when Donald Trump jumped up, put his fist in the air, yelled, fight, 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 that was one of the most badass things I've ever seen. Days later, the image of that badass moment, according to Mark Zuckerberg, was stymied by Facebook. It was suppressed. It disappeared from people's news feeds. Mark Zuckerberg issued an apology directly to President Trump via phone call and said, look, just so you know, I'm not getting involved in the elections at all. Now that the election is over, now that President Trump has won, Mark Zuckerberg trying to get back in the good graces of President Trump with a trip to Mar-a-Lago, with a public desire to be involved in the administration's tech policy, and now with a donation of $1 million. A lot of people were quick to point out that Elon Musk has donated over $150 million to Donald Trump's campaign. The $1 million to the inaugural fund seems nice, but maybe a little ineffective. Meta Platforms has donated $1 million to President-elect Donald Trump's inaugural fund, the latest step by Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg to bolster his once fraught relationship with the incoming president. This from the Wall Street Journal. The donation, confirmed by the company, is a departure from past practice by Zuckerberg and his company and comes after an election campaign in which Trump threatened to punish the tech tycoon if he tried to influence the election against him. The contribution and efforts to court the incoming administration are emblematic of the balancing act for technology CEOs whose companies have often been the target of ire from Trump and other Republicans and whose workforces tend to lean strongly to the left. Now, with Republicans set to take control of the White House and both houses of Congress and calling for new regulation of tech, some executives are adopting a new posture toward Donald Trump. Amazon.com founder Jeff Bezos, long a foe of the president-elect, congratulated Trump on X after the election for an extraordinary political comeback and decisive victory, and said this month that he was actually very optimistic this time around. What I've seen so far, he said, is that he is calmer than he was the first time and more confident, more settled. Basically, what you have here is 4 years of tech CEOs doing the duty of Joe Biden and the Democrats, answering their calls, censoring their adversaries, deleting accounts from people in high up positions in the Republican Party, making sure that the Democrat narrative was pushed out and the conservative talking points were suppressed, using fake, bogus information, spreading it like it was true, using fact checkers to shut down conservative voices and stories, even suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story on all these platforms, kicking Donald Trump off of the internet. I mean, when you look at all of these tech tycoons after January 6th, President Trump was kicked off of Twitter. He was kicked off of Facebook and Meta. He was kicked off of Pinterest and Shopify and Spotify and everywhere else. He was kicked off of his Amazon web servers. He had to rebuild everything from scratch, and he had to create his own Truth Social network just to communicate with people who previously followed him on Twitter. And now that he's won re-election by a large margin and has a mandate from the people, all of these tech tycoons who realized, oh, you know what? I may own my company forever, but these politicians come and go. I should probably not take sides with one politician over the other. I should maybe just run a fair and balanced company and not suppress any information and realize that there are multiple different viewpoints and voices and opinions in this world. They didn't do that. And now they're all coming back and they're kowtowing to President Donald Trump. Now they're all coming back and they are trying to make good with Time Magazine's Person of the Year. It's interesting to see. How quick these folks who used to chastise and blast President Trump and punish him and dox him and demonetize him and delete him off their platforms. It's so interesting to see now how quickly they are to not just praise him and show their excitement and support and admiration for him, but also write big fat checks to his inaugural campaign. I guess they think, whatever, if it's going to cost me $1 million to stay out of some committee meeting this time around, I'm happy to do it, says Mark Zuckerberg. I think it's going to cost him. I think it's going to cost him actually a lot more. Listen, coming up later today, we've got so much more on the Iranian drones, because that seems to be the big story of the day, plus some other stuff you need to know about, all in our Mark Kaye Saves the Republic podcast. This is our daily long form commentary podcast, which features interviews and other fun segments, and you can get it wherever you download your podcasts. We're live on YouTube and Rumble, noon to 1 o'clock-ish. Eastern time, 11 to noon Central. And then, of course, we upload the podcast so you can download it and listen at your leisure. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.